The old woman was standing in the snow like she had forgotten how to move. Zadie noticed her from half a block away, on her way back from a double shift at the hospital where she cleaned floors and emptied bins and made sure nobody had to think about the mess that came with keeping people alive. It was February in Toronto, the kind of cold that didn't ask permission, and the woman was wearing a thin wool coat, the kind that might have been warm once, 20 years ago, and she was standing very still in front of a bus shelter with no bus coming. Zadie almost kept walking. She had learned, in the 3 years since she'd moved from Lagos to Toronto, that sometimes the kindest thing you could do for a stranger was not embarrass them by noticing. But there was something about the way the woman's hands were shaking. Not from cold, or not only from cold, that made Zadie stop. "Ma?" she said, stepping closer. "Are you all right?" The woman turned slowly, like she had been expecting someone else. Her eyes were brown and sharp, the kind of eyes that had once been used to being listened to, and there was something dignified in the set of her jaw even now, even standing here in the snow with no one beside her. "I'm trying to find Bloor Street," she said. Her accent was Caribbean, Jamaican, maybe, or Barbadian. "My son," said Bloor Street. "Which part of Bloor?" Zadie asked. The woman opened her purse and looked inside for a long moment, then closed it again. "I had it written down," she said quietly. Zadie stood there. The wind cut through her scrubs under her coat. She thought about her one-room apartment 15 minutes away, and her bed, and the soup she had left in the slow cooker that morning. She thought about how she had exactly $47 until payday, and how a taxi for this woman to wherever she needed to go would take most of it. She thought, what if this is someone's mother? "Come," she said. "Let's get you out of the cold first." The woman's name was Mama Cecilia. That was what she said when Zadie asked. Just Mama Cecilia, as though the first name was a title rather than a description. She walked with a slight stiffness in her right hip that she tried to hide, and she kept her chin up the entire time Zadie walked her the 2 blocks to a Tim Hortons and settled her into a corner booth. "I'll get you something warm," Zadie said. "You don't have to do that." "I know," Zadie said. She got 2 teas and a toasted bagel and brought them back to the table. Mama Cecilia looked at the tea for a moment before picking it up, and the way she held the cup, careful, both hands, like she was remembering how, made something in Zadie's chest go quiet. "My son is going to worry," Mama Cecilia said. "Does he know you're out?" A pause. "He doesn't know I left." Zadie waited. "I wanted to surprise him at work," Mama Cecilia said, and she said it with such simple dignity, such complete absence of apology, that Zadie felt a strange tenderness rise in her throat. "He works very hard. He never takes lunch. I thought I would bring him lunch, like I used to when he was a boy and I worked near his school." She looked down at her purse again. "I had it all packed. I made his favorite. Jerk chicken, rice, the way he likes it." Zadie noticed then that Mama Cecilia was carrying a cloth bag as well, one of those insulated ones people used for food. It had been sitting at her feet the entire time. "He's going to eat cold jerk chicken," Mama Cecilia said, almost to herself, and there was such wry sorrow in it that Zadie almost laughed and almost cried and did neither. "What's his office address?" Zadie asked. "I don't remember exactly. I had it written on a paper and I think I left it by the phone." She shook her head once, a tight, controlled motion. "I'm not usually like this. The doctor said the memory sometimes." She stopped. "It's okay, Ma," Zadie said. "It is not okay," Mama Cecilia said firmly, but not unkindly. She looked at Zadie directly for the first time. "You look tired. I just finished a shift." "What do you do?" "I'm a cleaner at St. Michael's Hospital." Mama Cecilia nodded slowly, as though this confirmed something. "Hard work," she said. "Honest work." Zadie had been told a lot of things about her job since she'd been doing it. Honest work wasn't the one she heard most often. "Yes, Ma," she said. They sat together while Mama Cecilia finished her tea and most of the bagel, and Zadie called her own phone's map app and typed in every variation of the son's name and workplace that Mama Cecilia could give her. His name was Daniel. She was certain of that. Daniel Asare Mensah. And eventually, through a combination of Mama Cecilia's fragments and Zadie's patience, they landed on a building on Bay Street that matched the description. A financial services company called Asare Capital Group. "Asare," Zadie said. "Like your name?" "He built it himself," Mama Cecilia said, and the pride in her voice was so complete, so uncomplicated, that it was almost hard to look at. Outside, the snow was coming down heavier now. Zadie looked at the time on her phone. She thought about her bed. She thought about the soup. "I'll take you," she said. "You will not," Mama Cecilia said immediately. "Ma, you just worked a full shift, and you're going to take a taxi by yourself to Bay Street and then take another one home in this snow?" Zadie said. "No." Mama Cecilia looked at her for a long moment. Then she said, quietly, "Why are you doing this?" Zadie didn't have a good answer for that. The honest answer was something like, "Because you look like you could be my mother's mother, and my mother is in Lagos and I haven't seen her in 3 years. And sometimes I miss her so badly it sits on my chest like a stone." But she didn't say that. She just picked up her coat and said, "Come on, Ma, before it gets worse." The taxi ride to Bay Street took 20 minutes in the snow. Mama Cecilia sat very straight in the back seat and asked Zadie careful questions. Where she was from, how long she had been in Canada, whether she liked it here. Zadie answered honestly. From Lagos, 3 years, it was hard and then harder, and then it became something else. Not easy exactly, but real. "Real is good," Mama Cecilia said. "Yes, Ma. The building on Bay Street was the kind that made you feel smaller just looking at it. Glass and steel going up into the grey sky. A lobby that you could see from outside was all polished stone and quiet authority. A man in a suit held the door for someone without looking at them. A woman in heels crossed the lobby like she owned the floor she was walking on. Zadie paid the taxi driver and helped Mama Cecilia out. She had intended to leave her at the door. Surely someone inside would take it from there. But Mama Cecilia held her arm and kept holding it, and so they walked into the lobby together. The security desk was manned by a young man who looked at Mama Cecilia first, then at Zadie, in her scrubs and winter coat, with an expression that he tried to flatten before it fully formed. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see my son," Mama Cecilia said. "Daniel Asare Mensah." Something shifted on the security guard's face. Not skepticism anymore, something closer to alarm. He picked up his phone immediately. "1 moment, ma'am." They waited. Mama Cecilia stood quietly, her cloth bag in both hands. Zadie stood beside her and looked at the lobby and the people moving through it, none of whom looked at them. After a moment she heard the elevator open and a woman in a dark blazer crossed the lobby toward them quickly, her heels very precise on the stone floor. "Mrs. Asare Mensah," the woman said. "I'm so sorry, we weren't expecting you today. Mr. Asare Mensah is." She glanced at Zadie. "He's in a meeting, but I've already sent word. He'll be right down." "He doesn't need to interrupt his meeting," Mama Cecilia said. "He very much wants to," the woman said, and something in her tone made it clear that this was not an exaggeration. Zadie said, "I'll leave you here, Ma. You're safe now." Mama Cecilia turned to her quickly. "You'll stay? I don't need to, Zadie." It was the first time she'd used her name. "Stay, please." So Zadie stayed. They were brought to a seating area near the elevator. Soft chairs, a low table, a small tray of water and biscuits that appeared almost immediately from nowhere. Mama Cecilia set her cloth bag carefully on the table. "It's probably cold now," she said. "He won't care," Zadie said. "He will care that I worried about it." Before Zadie could answer, the elevator opened. The man who stepped out was tall, somewhere in his early 40s, in a dark suit with no tie. He was moving fast, and then he saw his mother, and he stopped, and for a moment his face did something unguarded and raw that Zadie felt she shouldn't be watching. He crossed the remaining distance quickly and took both of his mother's hands in his. "Mama," he said. "Just that. I brought your lunch," Mama Cecilia said. "It's cold now. I'm sorry. I don't care about the lunch, Mama. You should eat. You never eat." He looked at her for a moment with an expression that seemed to contain about 15 different things at once, and then he said, very quietly, "How did you get here?" "I took a taxi," Mama Cecilia said, which was technically partially true. Daniel Asare Mensah looked up then and noticed Zadie for the first time. Not the way the security guard had looked at her, noticed her. "She helped you," he said. Not a question. Mama Cecilia turned and looked at Zadie with an expression that Zadie hadn't seen from her before. Full, direct, warm. "This is Zadie," she said. "She found me on Yonge Street and she brought me all the way here. She paid for the taxi herself." "You didn't need to do that," he said to Zadie. "I'll reimburse you." "It's fine," Zadie said. "I'm glad she's okay." He looked at her for a moment. Then, are you in a hurry? Zadie almost said yes. She was tired. She had soup at home. She had already given more of this afternoon than she'd planned. But something about the question, the way he asked it, careful and direct, with no performance in it, made her pause. No, she said. He had his mother settled in a chair and called for tea and sat across from them both, and he opened the cloth bag and took out the container of jerked chicken and rice without being asked, and he ate it cold right there in the lobby seating area, and Mama Cecilia watched him eat with an expression of pure satisfaction. Zadie watched both of them and thought, this is what love looks like when it has survived something, this careful, ordinary, complete attention. Daniel asked Zadie about herself while he ate, where she worked, how long she had been in Toronto, not the way people asked when they were being polite, the way people asked when they were actually listening. She found herself telling him more than she had intended, about her training back home, about the credential recognition process in Canada that had stalled for 2 years, about the testing she had done, and the applications, and the ways the system had told her to wait and wait and wait. You're a trained nurse, he said. Back home, yes. Here I'm a hospital cleaner. I'm still working through the process. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, what hospital? St. Michael's. He nodded once. He didn't say anything else about it. They stayed for another half hour. Mama Cecilia ate 2 of the biscuits and drank her tea and told Daniel 3 things about Zadie's character. Her kindness, her patience, her steadiness, in the way that mothers present evidence, as though building a case. Daniel listened to all 3. When it was time to leave, he arranged a car for both of them, his mother to her home in Scarborough, and Zadie to wherever she needed to go. At the car, Mama Cecilia held Zadie's hands. You're a good woman, she said. God sees that. Zadie thought of $47 and a slow cooker and 3 years of waiting. Thank you, Ma, she said. That night she slept better than she had in weeks. She didn't know why. Maybe it was just that she had been useful in a way that had nothing to do with mops or requisition forms or anyone's opinion of her. She had seen a woman standing in the snow and she had stopped. That was all. It didn't feel like enough, but it was what she had. She didn't think about Daniel Asare Mensah, or she tried not to. 3 weeks later, Zadie was called into the office of the Director of Human Resources at St. Michael's Hospital. She went with the low-grade dread that most people in her position carried into those offices, a reflex shaped by years of being the person most easily let go. She sat down across from the director and waited. The director slid a piece of paper across the desk. We've received a formal referral for the International Nursing Credential Recognition Fast Track, she said. It's a partnership program with 3 hospitals in the city. It's highly competitive. You've been nominated. Zadie looked at the paper. By who? The nomination came through a corporate partner, an organization called Asare Capital Group. The director looked at her with mild curiosity. Do you know them? Zadie held the paper for a long moment. Outside the window, February was finally starting to loosen its grip on the city. She could see a thin strip of sky that was almost blue. Yes, she said. I think I do. The Fast Track program was 6 months of assessments, clinical placements, and bridging coursework, all coordinated with her existing shift schedule at the hospital. It was the hardest 6 months of her life since she had arrived in Canada, and also, unexpectedly, the most hopeful. She got up at 5, and she studied, and she worked, and she went to bed late, and she stopped thinking about what was fair or unfair and started thinking only about what was next. She sent a message to Daniel Asare Mensah after the first week. Just, thank you. I understand now, he replied. You made it easy. My mother talks about you constantly. And then, after a pause, she's right about you. Zadie stared at that last message for longer than she intended. Then she put her phone down and went back to her notes. Mama Cecilia called her on a Tuesday in April. Just to talk, she said. Zadie was on her lunch break, eating in a stairwell because the break room was full, and she sat there on the cold concrete step and talked with Mama Cecilia for 20 minutes about the weather, and about Mama Cecilia's garden, and about what it felt like to be far from home. And it was the most ordinary conversation she'd had in months, the most nourishing. Are you happy? Mama Cecilia asked her near the end. Zadie thought about it honestly. I think I'm becoming something, she said. I'm not sure happy is the right word yet. But it's closer. That's enough, Mama Cecilia said. That's more than enough. On the day Zadie received her nursing registration, a Tuesday in late August, grey outside, unremarkable from the outside in every possible way, she sat in her car in the hospital parking lot for a long time before going in. The letter was on the passenger seat. She had read it 4 times already. She read it once more. She thought about the bus stop on Yonge Street. She thought about $47. She thought about a woman standing in the snow with cold jerk chicken in a cloth bag, trying to find her son's office because she worried he wasn't eating. She thought, this is not the end of something hard. This is the beginning of something true. She texted Mama Cecilia first. 1 word. Registered. The reply came in under 30 seconds, a row of hearts. Then, I told Daniel. He says congratulations, I say. I knew. Zadie laughed. It came out rough and sudden and real, the way laughter did when you had been holding your breath for a long time without knowing it. She got out of her car, put the letter carefully into her bag, and walked into the hospital. Not through the service entrance this time, through the front door, in the blue autumn light, with her name and her credentials and the long, strange, ordinary road that had brought her here. All of it intact, all of it hers.